Hey, what's going on, everybody? So I'm going to be going over how to install bull rings on Ram 2500. So that's what the pocket looks like beforehand, and you can see it sort of fits in there, but we're going to have to do some cutting, and so I'm going to show you some of the spots of where I cut. So first thing I did is I dropped it in there, and I used a box cutter to kind of line up and make little slices. I will be using a Dremel for this, however you can use a knife carefully, but basically I drop it in there, line it up, and make little notches so I know where to cut. So there you go, you can see those little slice marks, and again, as I mentioned, I will be using a Dremel. So basically I just start cutting with the Dremel, and when you hit the metal there, you'll feel it. Now you do want to touch that up with some paint just to make sure that it doesn't rust. But you can see basically I just trim with the Dremel and you'll feel it hit the edge. Now there is a specific piece you can get to make sure that it doesn't scratch the metal like that, but basically it's just cutting and test fit, cut, test fit, but it won't take very long to actually do so. And as I mentioned, you can use a box cutter or a sharp knife for this if you want, but I chose a Dremel just to make things a little easier. And there you go, keep test fitting until you can kind of get that to pop in there. And you can see here both sides on the front and the sides, of course, that you'll need to trim to make sure that you've got room to fit the bull ring in there. And you can see on here, there's a little metal lip on the inside of the bull ring, and that's going to be what sits up underneath and pinches on the truck bed. And you just unscrew that to drop the bracket down so you can make it fit in there and get it to line up, just like so. And you can see on there basically it's got the two edges, so you want to make sure that those actually line up and hit the metal of the truck and not the plastic, because if you install it wrong, it will be basically pulling up on the plastic. So you can see in there on the back, it's just past the metal lip on there, and once you get it on there and you pull up, I mean, you'll realize that it's not pulling on the plastic. And here's what it'll look like when it's fully installed. And the little ring piece pops up and will stay there because it's got a little lock, and when you don't need it you can push it back down so that way it's out of the way and pretty much flush with the truck bed. Set. Now that the rear one is installed, let's get ahead and work on the front one, which is a little bit harder because we don't even have a pocket to start with. We've just kind of got a small outline, and so what we need to do is use the Dremel and kind of basically drill right in the middle, and I slowly make the hole larger and larger and keep test fitting until everything fits in there, and then we'll be good to go. So let's go ahead and get that Dremel and cut a hole. And once you cut the hole, you'll start to be able to kind of see the metal on the inside, just like we did on the back pocket. And so we'll just keep trimming a little bit at a time. And basically you want to make sure you do not just trace along here, because you'll cut way too big for that to cover. You really only need to make kind of a cut along here and just enough to fit this thing in there, so that way when you install this it covers up the hole nicely. So again, just make more and more cuts basically until you can get that to fit in there, and definitely take your time on that. And you can use a little tool to kind of scratch the plastic where you need to actually cut to get you a ballpark area. And now you can see it drops in there pretty cleanly. And again, just make sure that when you tighten this down, that the metal tabs on the inside hook up underneath the bed here, and that way it's actually supported against the metal rather than just the plastic bed cap. And you can see that although we've got that hole there, it's, you know, covered up nicely and you can't see it. So now we just got to get these tightened down and this will be all ready to go and ready to use. And you can see now we're all set and done here. Everything's installed, it's tightened down, and you don't see any of the cut areas that we had made.